Molweni, molweni, molweni. If you do not know the song, Hekamandi Sityankisi, I love the whole album. If you know how it goes, Khani Thuleni, Mamele. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate the support. If you do not know my story, I was recruited into a cult, was a member of the cult, and tried recruiting Abanya Bantu into a cult. Thank God that, not a single person that I tried recruiting ended up being part of this cult. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for being brave, especially to the people who are thinking of getting out of Shincheonji. You can definitely do it. One of the things that gave me hope and faith and courage to get out was the fact that I had a relationship with God before the cult. So I had to trust and believe that relationship was genuine. Those interactions and conversations with God were true and genuine, and that was like a connection in Denayang that nobody can take away from. So remembering that is what gave me hope to get out, and hope still nango that I'll regain that confidence within my faith kwakhona, and things will get better and better and better. But while you're here, please do like. My content is educational, informative. So by the end of this video, if it was not entertaining and it was not informative, then definitely do not subscribe. But if it is, please subscribe so that I can get this message out there. It truly doesn't cost you anything, but it does wonders for me. It gets this message out to a lot of people and helps us just be aware of the things that are currently happening in our country and in our society, and just in the Christian community, just to divide us and to separate us from God. So please do subscribe and share with as many people as you can. I really appreciate it. So Dalanteta, let's get into the title of this video. These are signs that your church is toxic, unhealthy, and probably is a cult. These are signs I wish I knew. Like, I wish I had Googled this. But that's also a sign. The fact that you can't Google anything about the church is a sign. So I wrote down a couple of things. They're not in like any order of any kind. So the first thing, number one, I don't like editing, so I will not put a number one title or anything. But number one, Palaphansi. If they shun people who have left the church, like if you are not allowed or you are not encouraged to talk to people who have left the church, then something is unhealthy about that church. Like, what are you hiding from me? What is it that you don't want me to know about the church? To us, it went as far as we can't Google the church, we can't look up the name of the church. We couldn't even, during center stages, have each other's numbers. The only numbers you could have was Abandu, who were the leaders. So the cell group leaders, those are legit the only people you could have in Nambazabo. Everybody else you couldn't. If your church shuns, like it speaks of things like if we are hamba apa, you will be doomed. And sometimes they don't even go that extreme, but they say things that are manipulative, like also succeed in life. You know, this is the only place you can hear this information or understand and hear this word. Then the reason they do this one is to punish abahambileyo. So Shincheonji legit says if you are leaving heaven, so if you're leaving heaven, you're basically going where? To hell, you know. So if they say things like they do that to punish abantu abahambileyo abafana no asemahle, so that they feel like if uhambile, like there's no coming back type of situation. And also they do it to control abantu who are here. They make you feel like if you leave, your life is over type of situation. So a church that you're not allowed to talk to past members of is definitely hiding something. A church where you cannot Google, find any information about them, the content right up. So that's number one. I hope, you know what, you should actually do that thing. Put a finger down, yabo, then uzobona ba itindo yakho. The second thing, they're very secretive. So you cannot tell ba ufunde ntoni enkonzweni, or you can't tell what you learned at Bible school, in my case. Then there's definitely something shady. There's something that is not right there. Yabo. The reason they do this, they do it to detach you from your family. They do it, like churches should be saying run away from sin. They should not be saying run away from your family. Don't tell your family what you're learning about God, when we should be sharing the gospel, you know? So they do this to detach you from your family, and also to like make themselves the sole source of information. So if they make themselves the sole source of information in your life, then as equals opinions that will dispute their teachings, that will dispute in the Fundayo. You understand? So if you can't go on the internet and listen to another Bible study, there's a problem there. You know, if you can't even visit another church, I'm not saying be a member of another church, but visit another church. The fact that they want you here, you can't go out and find other people's opinion on a topic. They want to seclude you. So whenever there's stuff like that where they detach you from your family, or they make your family seem like the enemy, or discouraging of other people's opinions and other churches' teachings, then you can't shaky up. So they can't be secretive, and you can't be asked to hide the things you're learning at church. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3. So some churches are very plain out, like by Chaza Holoshop, like Shinshinji, where we believe that this person is the promised pastor, the chosen one, New John, all these things. And other churches don't say it Ngolosho, you know. But when there's an devotion enkulu to umfundisi and what umfundisi says rather than what the word of God says, so when this is the only person who can hear from God, this is the person who we must listen to in order to hear from God, please run away. That is not a healthy church and might be a cult. Remember, the Bible tells us that we don't need a priest anymore, like in the Old Testament. So you can go to God yourself. Like the fact that that we can hear and understand God. Like honestly, that's a huge one. It's a big one. Or they might not even be like worshipped or praised or whatnot, but the fact that your pastor is not accountable to anybody, that for me personally is a form of an unhealthy church. Remember, ibanda leli kaThixo, ibanda leli lokamfundisi. Do you understand? So when the pastor is not accountable to anybody, angenza noba intoni afunayo, nguvula zibhuqe nje, like the pastor can do whatever, there's an issue for me personally there, where I don't think that is a healthy church. Because what if the pastor says things like and who is there to check him, you know, type of situation. So there has to be a leadership in your church. There has to be people. You must be able to have a voice and say things about the church that you're unhappy about, and the pastor not be offended. And like, because I come from super perfect, I come to perfect, but have a pastor that in the church to make sure that he leads in a godly manner and in a manner that God is pleased with, you know. And then we have, so this one might be a touchy subject, né? So specifically cults. Cults wear uniforms. There is no cult that I've researched and gotten more information on that does not wear a uniform. So this is something to be aware of. There's a split South African to are traditional, and some of them you wear uniform. Ne? But this is also a sign that you're in a cult because they wear uniforms as well. Not get me right. I'm not saying all churches who wear uniforms are cults. No, or they are unhealthy. No, or they are toxic. No, this is just one of the signs that cults also have. They wear uniform. The same reason amapolisa anxiba uniform namajoni anxiba uniform is so that you are part of a group. You are united. You are one. In a sense, it also cancels out your individuality. So you cannot have in the orange, in the yellow. So it cults kill your likes, your dislikes. Funeka sonke sibe banye, sibe sentweni A1. In a way that is a form of controlling, and in a way of opinions, your individuality is suppressed. I remember at Shinshanji, I was meeting with my Imonim. Imonim is department leader for newcomers, and she was talking about how there was this newcomer that she was trying to evangelize, recruit, who wanted to do orange hair and whatnot. And then she randomly said, like, obviously, like, I was gonna make sure that doesn't happen, so I was gonna use wisdom on her. So you, like, at Shinshanji, we wore black and white, so white tops and black bottoms, at service. So every time there's a service, which is Sundays and Wednesdays, that's what we would wear. So you can't, and I remember noticing, but most of the people have natural hair, like amantombazana. And I come to ne dye, I come to ne tint. Like nothing must set you apart. You are here. Like, that's a form of controlling. That's a form of our opinion being the only one that matters type of situation. So please be careful about that. I wanted to do like blonde or something, and I couldn't do that because it's just a controlling thing, actually. Yeah, and then I think I've shared all of these. Let's see, I think there's a few more. Oh, this one. If your church has had reports about inappropriate behavior, yomntu osebandleni. Now, this is not being judgmental, but like, oh, we saw him nendoda. No, this is really not about that. This is about there's somebody who is maybe has harassed somebody in the church, a male or a female, who has looked at somebody in a way and said things that are sexual, inappropriate, or has even physically touched somebody that has made them uncomfortable to coming to church. And the church has done nothing about that individual. That is an unhealthy church. That is a toxic church because it is in essence pushing people away from God instead of bringing them to God. You understand? And it creates a sense of vulnerability, especially thina singamantombazana. Even the enkonzweni, and ichomiam has told me about ubhuti bani tried doing this to me. Ndayomxelela umfundisi and nothing was done about it. Andizufuna ukuya kulo nkonzo. And andizufuna nechomiam iqhubekeke ikhonza kulo nkonzo. Do you understand? So that is an unhealthy way of dealing with things. And if there is a church like that, or a church rumor, or whatever the case might be, and the leaders and the pastors of the church have not addressed that in terms of taking the person to counseling, informing that person's family, spouse, if they're leading a department, that department needs to know so that those people are cautious. This is not name and shaming. No, this is protecting people within the church. We need to be accountable, to each other as well. So if nothing is being done, or the person, and the time gain is no sigwa type of situation, but if the person is still in a position of influence, then that is an unhealthy environment. It is an unhealthy church. that you definitely need to leave. Okay? I think now these are my personal ones, not necessarily apply to everybody, but when I choose a church, I also listen to what the people are doing while there's preaching. Does that make sense? So kukho inkonzo whereby you go umfundisi hallelujah, and then people just start falling on the floor, like, or let me leave that one, could be the Holy Spirit, let me leave that one. Let me use an example of somebody says something that is not biblical, something based on their own understanding, their own perception, their own experience. Now listen, our experiences can be beneficial to us, especially if God has taken us through something in our lives. But at the same time, it's not the source of our confidence. The word is. So when people share stuff about their personal life that is not biblical or not supported by the word, and the congregation members go crazy. Like if they start like agreeing with that, people start praying for that, that for me is a huge red flag. When the biblical message is not sound, but the people in the church think it is sound, and is like I think there's a couple of services where I've gotten up and I've left. Not at Shinchinji, at other churches I've attended, because you're actually taking away, you're poisoning my mind and my heart instead of adding to it. So I've just left. And just to please people, and so I am personally not a fan of that. Personally, I will not give that church kind of like a second chance, because that means everybody or majority of the people in the church think that is sound biblical teaching. The pastor has put you up there thinking that what you're going to say is sound biblical teaching. So I question the judgment and discernment of the pastor as well when I hear such stuff and the congregation members go crazy. Yabo? Just me. The other thing might be controversial, but this is a preference yami kwakhona. Andikhonzi emabandleni apho umfundisi angaphangeliyo khona. This is a mahle thing. Ndingumntana kamfundisi, and my dad does all his pastoral duties, and he works as a construction worker. He drives a truck. He does that. I think there's just a level of, I guess, for Mnage, maybe no issues, and yes, trust, a level of security that the financial stability of the church is not what you use to finance your family life, your vacations, your cars, your planes, whatever the case might be. Just for me personally, as Asimahle, all the churches I've been a member of, abafundisi, have like a job that financially feeds their families, and I just think that's something important for Rimna. I don't know about you, but at the same time, my mom is fully into ministry, but now she has a job and she's still doing her ministry. So it's a weird one, but just for me personally, Asimach, I am not comfortable with, like, why ungaphangeli? Like, I think it's because I know it's doable. Like, you can still serve the church and still work and serve your family and provide for them. It's doable because I've seen it. So it's hard to accept a pastor who doesn't have the same resolve about providing for their own family. You understand? So my church in Pretoria is the same. My pastor is a psychologist, a counselor. My dad's first church I attended, the previous church I was in before Shinshunji, that for me was very important. Well, I think that is all for this video. I do not know how many things I counted, but maybe rewatch the video and tell me if ikona into ikwenze wahlisa okanye into ekwenze awahlisa type of situation. But obviously with cults, all these things apply. Like all these things apply with the cult. But if your church is an unhealthy church, some of them might apply, some of them might not. It's things that you can even talk to like your leaders about, and you guys try and fix certain things, but then some things are set in their ways. And this means just pray about it more and reevaluate if this is really a home for you, or if it's a seasonal place for you to be at, or this is, where God wants you to be for a very long time. Excuse me. So yeah, that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching and getting to the end. That means if you feel to the end, you can now don't subscribe. Trust me, it be informative. Must it be informative? And it was a bit entertaining. Like compared to my other video where I was sad. At least more on today. Vibe. Dinner vibe. Nyada. So please hit the subscribe button and share with your friends. I think the most important thing for me is to make sure people are aware not to jump into things that they have not prayed about and meditated on 100%. Also one more thing, to know that it's a cult, if they ask you to leave the book that you write notes at the church or at the convention center or wherever, or in the classroom, if they ask you to leave the book, please know it is a cult. It is a cult. It is a cult. Because one of the ladies who watched my video said they went through the same process as me, but they obviously didn't get to the crossover and going to the church and realizing that there's a promised pastor. But what made them realize that what they were part of was them being recruited is exactly that they asked them to not share, and they also asked them to leave their books payan. So I have to make that disclaimer again. Please make sure. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, wenze zonke ezazinto ezenziwayo ngabanye abantu nezinye YouTubers. But for now, asemahle majola, mahle majri, mahle maj, mahleza, hlehle. But thank you so much for watching.